On this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Kent Wakeford, welcome to Life Science Success Podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks
I
a lot.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. So could you just take a moment and tell listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Kent. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Form Bio. We started Form Bio as a spin-out of another company called Colossal Biosciences, which I was also a co-founder of. Colossal was a partnership with George Church at Harvard University and applying multiplex editing to solve some of the issues that we're seeing around the world with loss of biodiversity, species extinction, and species restoration. And when we first tried to work on the problem, and what it's most well known for is bringing back the woolly mammoth. So you can imagine the sequencing we had to do.
Right.
And so we built a platform to help accelerate that sequencing. And we quickly found that the applications for what we were building were much broader than, just species preservation, that it could have a direct and profound effect on human healthcare. And so we spun out the company just about a year ago.
Okay.
July 5th last year. We now have 50 employees. We just announced our partnership with Google. It's part of the Google multi-omic suite of products, and really focused on providing computational life sciences and AI solutions to biotech and biopharma companies.
So that sounds like a lot of growth in a very short period of time as well.
Yes. Well, we were incubating the company for about 2 years prior in Colossal, and so we've had a lot of a lead up time.
Sure.
To kind of bring our product to market. But I have to say, the speed of advancement is happening at such a fast rate right now in AI.
Yeah.
It is just taking off, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, you think about like the Moore's law of what this could do, right, in terms of acceleration for things. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to me to think about what that future could be, right?
I mean, we're experiencing it at Form. So just 9 months ago, we had a biotech company, publicly traded biotech company, come to us with a problem. And they said, you guys are good at data science. Can you help us figure out, we had 4 therapies in development, and 2 of them could be manufactured and 2 of them couldn't. They're just the empties and the truncations, and it was just causing it so they couldn't manufacture these drugs. And we have a great data science team and AI team, and we put them on the problem, and they started to look at the structure of the DNA and the proteins and understand, okay, what elements would correlate with truncations. So that was just, 9 months ago. And fast forward to what we've done between then and now to me, is mind blowing. I mean, it's, we can now predict within 24 hours what you're going to get out of a bioreactor run. We can, if you're doing an AAV gene therapy, we can kind of have you populate 20 different promoters and tell you which is going to give you the best outcome.
Amazing.
You don't have to spend 9 months doing that. You could spend literally a business day with us and get the same result. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So I was going to ask you that as well, and it sounds like you've already answered it, but I just want to make sure I fully understand. So in terms of the data that you're analyzing and the responses that you normally get from AI, you normally have that pretty quickly, back from your models. It sounds like within 24 hours, what I heard you say.
Yeah. So a big part of what's happening in AI is, one, the models, right? The large language models, and the understanding of proteins and DNA is just advanced so quickly. But another part that's really important is data, right? It has to be really clean. So what we've been able to do is we have a partnership with PacBio. So you take the long read directly, out with AAV mode on, take the long read sequence, put it into our system so you have complete data provenance, and then you could start to run your AI modeling against it. And yes, once we have the data, it's 24 hours or less. Like we can start looking at and predicting construct design as well as optimization very quickly.
Yeah, I think about I mean, even so I've done a lot on the next generation sequencing and the diagnostic side, right? And even in terms of a lot of the answers that we were oftentimes looking for, we would, really try and apply enough compute so that you could get that answer
Yeah.
back, right? And it's just a matter of like, do you have a large enough, sort of brain on the computer side to sort of churn through these things that quickly?
That's exactly right. And so we've been collecting data from all the open available sources. We have partnerships with UT Southwestern, with UMass, with Duke, and others. And then our partners, we have their construct design. So we're constantly iterating and optimizing. And it's just the acceleration, once you've built that foundation, it grows exponentially. So, whether it's what we're doing at Form or what other companies are doing, whether it's Google and AlphaFold, the rate of growth and knowledge and the ability for us to understand is growing so fast, and it's incredibly exciting.
So tell me a little bit more about the Google partnership. What exactly does that mean? What does it mean for your future? What does it mean for theirs? What is the overall benefit, I guess, of what you're expecting to see from it?
Well, I think as we see data becoming more and more important, there's certain big players, whether it's Google or Amazon or Microsoft,
Sure.
who have the cloud-based infrastructure and then are layering on top of it services across many different industries. But for our purposes, they're building multiple different layers of services. So FormBio has a computational platform. We have workflows and pipelines, from basic RNA-seq to much more complicated, as we're talking about kind of bioreactor simulators for cell and gene therapy. And then what we can do is kind of allow people who are working with Google to kind of run all those computational workflows through their system. And it's the power to elicit answers is remarkable today.
Yeah, and I just think about the one of the things that I find interesting a lot of times with AI is just a level of, one, collaboration,
Yeah.
but two, just the power that is coming from that collaboration as well. And I certainly would hope that relationship results in even more collaboration, obviously for Form for the future as well.
We're very hopeful. Google has been a great partner as well. NVIDIA has been another great partner in what they're doing with Parabricks and the ability to speed up processing to make it much faster. Once again, this goes to the speed of innovation that is happening within this sector is truly transformative. And I think we're going to see it across the entire life cycle of kind of therapy and drug development, from discovery, manufacturing, clinical trials, going through the FDA. It's all going to change.
Right. Well, I'm certainly hoping. I mean, one of my big hopes is that we see less failure in stage 3 clinical trials. I mean, we just for years have lived with a 90+% failure rate in phase 3 clinical trials, which to me, I think is the promise of where we're heading. Is all of that learning being somewhere, and essentially those models saying, no, you probably don't want to progress this candidate because it's one that we've already learned from.
Well, exactly. So a good example is Sarepta, right? Just a couple weeks ago. So, they have a drug that can really transform, people's health. And there's so many people depending on this.
Right.
And the FDA came out and said, oh, hold on, we got to really look at this. And in a kind of a split vote, they were saying, look, we see a lot of empty reads in here, and we can't see what's in the therapeutic doses, and we don't know if that's going to lead to safety signals, if it's going to give you an effective dose. But that issue is solved today, right? So we can actually look into, tell you the empty and full, give you a construct design that maximizes efficacy, full reads, but it could also look at within the full reads, what's therapeutic, what's chimeric, what's a fragment, what's a helper plasmid, right? What's a host genome? And so you have like a full analysis, right? We're just one small piece of the puzzle,
Sure.
but we can take that, we can solve that issue, right? There'll be other people that solve all sorts of other issues, but
Right.
I think if we all come to the industry together and solve each of these problems, these drugs could get to market faster, have a higher success rate through the FDA, and help save people's lives.
So tell me a little bit. There are a lot of people right now one of the key buzzwords I would say in our industry is AI.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's one of the many that are currently around. What is different about Form versus other AI companies that are out there? Where do you start? Where do you sort of focus overall as an organization?
So as we look at the landscape of AI, there's a lot of different areas that people can work in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sexy area is in discovery. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of work being done in discovery. And even kind of what, as I mentioned, Google, AlphaFold, and Rosetta Fold, they're all, what's been unlocked with protein and DNA is incredible.
Sure.
Where we're focused specifically in cell and gene therapy is looking at the manufacturability. These cell and gene therapies, like Sarepta, like great discovery, but when you get into a bioreactor, you don't get the results you want.
Sure.
And I think this is a major issue that's kind of holding this industry back. And if we can just solve this one piece, hopefully it can open up a floodgate of drugs that are making it through with high outputs, high efficacy, good safety signals that can make it through the FDA. So we look at the specifically within AAV and soon lentivirus, the capsid, the construct design, look at optimizing it. We will run the analysis. We'll, as I said, we can compare promoters. We could look at CDS regions, whatever you want, and then give you back a construct that will have a much higher output, higher yields, better safety for your manufacturing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
In terms of the future that you see overall for Form, kind of how do companies come to you, and what are the ways that they engage with you and things like that? I mean, if somebody were listening or watching, the podcast later, how would they sort of think about this way to engage with you, and where's the right place to do it?
Yeah. So I think the center of the target for us in terms of companies that we can really, really help are gene therapy companies working with AAV.
Okay.
That is a sweet spot. It is something that we have. It's a unique solution that we have. And we've tested it. We've done wet lab validation. And we think that we can really add value. So that if there's companies listening in that area, give us a call, email us, to track me down. I'm happy to talk to anyone in this space, because I think that we know it works and we know it could help. So happy to do that. We are constantly looking at what's next. So I mentioned lentivirus, other delivery mechanisms. Those are areas that we are going to kind of step into and learn. And it's always great to learn with a partner. So, if there are people out there who are like, I have this problem, we're happy to look and see if we could help.
Perfect. And then in terms of the conference, the theme for Bio 2023 is really stand up for innovation, stand up for science. Yeah. So how does Form Bio, relate to that? And what are your thoughts about the theme?
Well, it's almost an ethos of our company, right? So we're a platform, we're technology, right? We are here to empower the scientists, right? Whether they're at a young biotech company or a big pharma, we're here to help get those scientists answers so they can go solve the next question and the next one. So we are here to empower scientists. That is what we do. And I think that AI is one of the most powerful tools. Granted, it's relatively young, but it is one of the most powerful tools that is going to change our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just look at, the things that I can see from AI, on the outside. Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of these models working and things like that. It'd be really cool to spend time doing that. But at the same time, I just think about, the level of speed that we can get from where humans are inefficient.
Yes.
I could definitely benefit a lot of those things as well.
Well, it was mentioning the promoters, which is something that a lot of companies have asked us to do, is can you just, we have 9 or 10 promoters we want to test. Imagine if it's infinite.
Right.
You have a million. great, we can run that analysis for you. And it's not just us, it's anyone in this space can start to work with those types of numbers.
Sure.
And so discovery, like, it opens up a new world of discovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have 3 questions that I like to ask
Sure.
every guest.
Yes.
What inspires you?
Well, there's lots of things that inspire me. What inspired me to really focus, I think that, like many people, I've had people close to me touched by, genetic diseases.
Sure.
And someone who's very, very close has a very rare genetic disease. And I see the pain.
Yeah.
But it is solvable.
Right.
But there's so many impediments to, like, getting the focus on it.
Sure.
But it shouldn't happen now because, the idea of personalized medicine, the idea of, like, big data, like, we can do it today. We could save these people's lives today.
Yeah.
Right. So we're just on that cutting edge. So what inspires me is like that, this hope and this potential that we can all come together as an industry going
Absolutely.
to support science
Great promise.
and actually, make a difference.
Yeah.
And so that is what inspires me. And I see it, like, we're right there. We are there.
Absolutely. What concerns you?
So I view this as a concern and an opportunity. I look at the way things have been done historically that take long amounts of time. And you see at the FDA and you see at other areas, like, leaning into a little bit of what's happening, right?
Right.
A little bit of, more cell and gene therapies coming to market. FDA just put out guidelines for AI. But it's how do you change this entire infrastructure to make things smarter and more efficient? So from point A to getting something to market to a patient can be compressed. And I think that there's, it's challenging, but I think that there's ways to actually educate and inform. And once again, we have to create the right processes and right amount of validation on it. But I think we could do that. And if we do it, that turns into an opportunity.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I actually, was one of the main things that whenever I looked at what happened with COVID, that I had sort of hoped would speed us along, right? It would all of a sudden have some ways to still be safe, make sure that people are safe and that the overall drug is effective. However, just speed the process more. What I've seen though on the back end is, and this is an outsider's view. I'm not somebody who frequently spends time with the FDA or any of the approval processes, and I certainly haven't lived it. So I mean, there's a part of this is a bit of me pontificating about what exactly I see from the outside. But
this is your podcast. You can pontificate all you want.
So the one thing that I really would have loved is that we moved through the drug approval process faster because of something that happened in COVID, and the approvers are trying to do their best. However, I feel like we used the emergency use authorization and then said, oh, here's the drug. That's not a really good sustainable way to have a shorter, lived drug cycle, right? So instead we could have done something overall to the process to say, these are ways that we are going to shortcut this in the future and not relive this long.
But what happened is they proved it's possible.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We can do it if we put our minds to it.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So we can do this. And I would challenge the FDA or anyone else, like, why not do it with something else? Right. I was just on a panel earlier where it was brought up, why doesn't the FDA and the NIH do this with something like dementia?
Oh, sure.
And just put all the resources and tackle that and then go to the next and then the next. Because once you have that collaboration,
right,
things move.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on
Oh,
the
this
Life
was
Science
great.
Success podcast.
Yes,
I
of
greatly
course.
appreciated you being here and and sharing the story of everything that you're doing right now as well at Form. So thanks a lot for doing it.
I appreciate you having me.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it. And last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.